Hi everyone, welcome. This is Astral Card Vault. We are starting right away because this energy is already heavy. The first card you brought in is the King of Pentacles. And listen, this is not just about money or stability today. This card is coming through as someone trying very hard to look calm, grounded, controlled, unbothered. But underneath that throne there is pressure. There is longing. There is a person sitting in silence like silence is a palace, but inside that palace, every room has your name written on the wall. I'm hearing, I can't let them see what this is doing to me. Wow. Okay. This person may be acting like they're focused on work, responsibilities, reputation, status, finances, family, whatever gives them that King of Pentacles mask. They may be posting like everything is normal. They may be answering everyone except you. They may even be pretending they made a wise, mature decision by staying quiet. But the symbolism here is loud. The black and white cat on this card feels like emotional duality. One part of them is soft, attached, missing you, craving your energy. The other part is stubborn, guarded, almost performatively composed. They want to appear like the one who has control, but this card is telling me the control is cracking. And the grapes around the throne that feels like memory. Sweetness. Something ripened between you two, even if they mishandled it. They remember the comfort of you, the way you made them feel safe, the way your presence made their world feel less cold, but they are not saying it, not yet. I'm going to say something specific. For some of you, this person thought time would make the feelings fade. They thought distance would make them stronger. Instead, silence turned into an echo chamber. Now they're sitting there with this heavy pride, missing you more than they expected, and realizing that being stable without you feels strangely empty. This is psychological symbolism, not fortune-telling, but emotionally. This card is showing someone who built an identity around control, and you became the one thing they cannot neatly control. Now watch how the energy shifts, because the next card pulls the curtain back on what is really happening underneath that composed exterior. And look at this, the devil. Okay, listen, this is why I said underneath that composed exterior, something is not calm. Because this card is not showing me someone casually missing you. This is showing me someone mentally looping. They may be trying to tell themselves, I'm good, I'm focused, I'm over it, I'm not checking, I'm not bothered. But the energy underneath is attachment, obsession, restlessness, a private pull. They do not know how to break. And again, this is psychological symbolism, not fortune-telling, but emotionally. This person feels caught in their own thoughts. The white cat on this card, sitting so still, almost too still, feels like the version of them they want people to see. Calm face, quiet mouth, nothing wrong. But then you have those darker figures beneath, and that feels like the part of them that comes out when nobody is watching. The part that checks your page, the part that wonders who you're talking to, the part that replays the last conversation and hears it differently now. Wow. For some of you, this person has had nights where they were supposed to be sleeping, but they ended up scrolling, thinking, remembering, maybe even looking at old messages or old photos. And then they put the phone down like, no, I'm not doing this. Then 5 minutes later, they pick it back up. That's very specific. I'm hearing, why do I still care this much? So this person is frustrated with themselves. They don't just miss you, they are irritated that they miss you. They feel like their own emotions are exposing them to themselves. And that is why the silence is so loud, because the silence is not peace. It's self-control. It's them gripping the edge of the table, trying not to move. There may also be jealousy here, not always because you're with someone else, but because they do not have access to your energy the way they used to. That alone is bothering them. They used to feel like they knew where they stood with you. Now they don't. Now your absence has teeth. And this is where it gets even more interesting. Because if the pull is this strong, why are they still not saying anything? The next card answers that, and it points directly to the reason they keep choosing silence. And we have the Page of Swords. Okay. So this is the reason they are watching, but they are not speaking. That is the whole contradiction here. This person has enough curiosity to look. They have enough feeling to keep tabs. They have enough mental energy to study you, replay you, wonder about you. But when it comes to actually saying something direct, they freeze. Because the Page of Swords is not coming through as someone who has no words. This is someone who has too many words and does not trust themselves to say the right one. Listen, this person may have typed something out. They may have opened your message thread. They may have hovered over your name. For some of you, they have written a message and erased it, not once, multiple times. And the message may have started casual. Like, hey, how have you been? But underneath that tiny little sentence was a whole emotional basement full of things they were not ready to admit. Because if they reach out, they have to expose that they still care. And that is the pride block. The cat on this card is holding that sword, but it's almost like the sword is bigger than the cat's emotional maturity. That feels very specific. They want to communicate, but communication would require honesty, and honesty would require vulnerability, and vulnerability would mean admitting that the silence did not protect them. It just trapped them. Wow. I'm going to clarify that because that's strange. They may even be waiting for you to give them a reason to speak. Like they want an opening, a sign, a post, a reaction. Something they can use as an excuse so they do not have to come in looking emotionally exposed. They want to make it seem casual. They want to make it seem like they just happened to check on you, just happened to remember something, just happened to send that song, that meme, that question. No, there is nothing random about this energy. They don't want you to know this part, but they are afraid you will see through them immediately. They know you may already know. They know your intuition is not asleep. And for some of you, that is why they stay quiet. Not because they feel nothing, but because you would hear everything they are trying not to say. So now I want to see what actually set this off, because this does not feel like a slow, mild realization. It feels like something recently shook their confidence, and the next card is showing exactly what cut through the illusion. And we have the Ace of Swords. Okay, this is clarity. This is the thing they saw, heard, realized, or finally could not lie to themselves about anymore. This card feels sharp. It feels like a truth cutting through all the little excuses they were using to stay comfortable. Because before this person could hide inside confusion. They could say, maybe I don't care. Maybe they'll come back around. Maybe I still have time. Maybe they're just waiting. But this Ace of Swords is telling me something sliced through that illusion. For some of you, they saw you looking better. They saw you calmer. They saw you not chasing, not explaining, not trying to pull a reaction out of them anymore. And you may not even realize this, but your silence has become louder than theirs. Wow. I'm hearing they're not reaching for me anymore. That is what shook them. Not just that you look good, not just that people may be noticing you. It's the fact that your energy feels different, cleaner, more detached. Like you took the cord they were pulling on and quietly placed it back on the table. And now they do not know what to do with that. The sword on this card is upside down, and that feels like a truth they did not want dropping into their awareness. It came in suddenly. Maybe they saw a comment. Maybe they saw you out somewhere. Maybe they heard your name from someone else. Maybe they noticed you stopped viewing, liking, reacting, asking, caring in the same way. This is not going to be for everyone, but for some of you, they were relying on your emotional availability, even while they were giving you silence. That's very specific. The wings here feel like something being revealed from above their own ego, like they could not keep forcing the same story. They had to see it. They had to admit, at least to themselves, I may actually lose access to this person. And with that crown at the top, there is also something about your value becoming undeniable. They may have underestimated you when you were close. They may have mistaken your softness for neediness. But now that you are not leaning toward them the same way, they are seeing the truth with uncomfortable clarity. But here's the part that feels layered. This realization did not happen in isolation. The next card shows that there are other details, other eyes, and possibly other people involved in the way they are reading your energy right now. And we have the Three of Pentacles. Okay. So this is interesting because this is not a solo card. This is not just one person sitting alone with their thoughts. This is giving me observation through other people, through little details, through the environment around you. So when I said this is not just their energy anymore, this is why. This person may be watching you directly. Yes. But for some of you, they are also watching through mutual connections, through people who know you, through your social media activity, through who comments, who likes, who seems close to you, who is standing near you in a picture, who you mention, who you stop mentioning. Listen, the Three of Pentacles on this card, with these cats gathered around this paper, feels like somebody trying to put pieces together. Like they are looking at clues and making a whole story out of fragments. One post, one song, one changed profile picture, one comment from somebody they do not recognize. And suddenly their mind is building an entire case. Wow, that's very specific. For some of you, they misunderstood something. They may have seen you working with someone, talking to someone, being supported by someone, or simply receiving attention, and they took it personally. It may not even be romantic. It could be friendship, business, family, community, anything. But because they are already in this Devil and Page of Swords energy, their mind is not neutral. Their mind is hungry for proof that they are losing you, and that is where the spiral gets louder. I'm hearing, oh, who is that? So they may not be asking you, but they are wondering. They may be checking a page connected to you. They may be looking at mutual friends. They may be paying attention to comments, tags, dates, little digital breadcrumbs. But again, they want to appear unbothered. They want to look like the King of Pentacles, stable, focused, above it all. But emotionally, they are in the back room with a magnifying glass. This card is also showing me that they may be trying to get information indirectly, not necessarily in a dramatic way. It could be a casual question to someone. It could be pretending they are not interested while listening very carefully when your name comes up. And now the next card starts to explain why they chose such a cold strategy in the first place. Because this is where the silence stops looking simple and starts looking like pride, outside influence, and fear all tangled together. And we have the King of Swords. Okay, this is where the coldness comes in. Because now I'm seeing why they may have stayed silent or acted like they were above the situation. The King of Swords is not showing me someone with no emotions. It is showing me someone who tried to intellectualize emotions they did not want to feel. They may have told themselves, I'm making the logical choice. I'm protecting my peace. I'm not going to chase. I'm not going to look weak. But listen, sometimes people call it logic when it is really fear wearing a clean shirt. This card feels very controlled, very calculated. The white cat sitting there with the sword upright, the crown, the still face, it is giving me someone who wanted to have the final word without actually saying anything. Like their silence was supposed to prove something. It was supposed to make them look powerful, detached, maybe even untouchable. But with everything we already pulled, it is not landing that way anymore. For some of you, there may have been another person in their ear. This may not be everyone's story, but I do feel outside influence here. Somebody could have told them, don't reach out. Let them come to you. Act like you don't care. Don't give them that satisfaction. Or this person simply absorbed that mindset from pride, friends, ego, whatever environment they were in. And now they are realizing that advice may have cost them access to someone they actually cared about. Wow. There is also jealousy with this King of Swords, but it is hidden behind judgment. They may be judging who you are around, judging what you post, judging how you move now, but underneath the judgment is comparison. They are comparing themselves to whoever they think has your attention. They are wondering if somebody else is easier to talk to, more emotionally available, more consistent, more brave. That part is bothering them. I'm hearing, did I misread this? So now they are questioning their own version of the story. They may have assumed you would stay emotionally available. They may have assumed you were just being dramatic, or that you would eventually break the silence first. But the Ace of Swords already showed that truth came in. And now this King of Swords is sitting with the consequence of being too cold for too long. And when that kind of coldness starts turning back on them, it does not always create instant action. Sometimes it creates stillness first, a pause, a shutdown, a moment where they have to sit with themselves. And the next card shows exactly that. And we have the Four of Swords. Wow, okay. This is exactly what I mean. Because this card looks quiet, but it does not feel peaceful. It feels like someone lying still because they do not know what else to do. They have gone into this emotional shutdown, but the swords are still right there. The thoughts are still hanging over them. The regret is still in the room. This person may be telling themselves they need space, they need time, they need to think. But what I'm really getting is that silence has become the place where the truth is finally catching up to them. The cat on this card is resting, but it almost feels like a forced rest. Like, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let this pass. But it is not passing. That is the problem. The more they stay still, the louder their mind gets. And I'm hearing, I should have said something sooner. That's very specific. For some of you, this person is starting to recognize that their silence may have pushed you into a different version of yourself. A version that does not wait by the door anymore. A version that does not keep checking for their message. A version that has stopped explaining your heart to someone who kept acting like they could not hear it. And listen, this is not about excusing them. Because if they gave you mixed signals, if they went cold, if they made you feel like you were asking for too much when you were really just asking for honesty, that had an emotional cost. And now they are sitting with that cost. They may feel shame, but they may not know how to name it. So it comes out as avoidance. It comes out as more silence. It comes out as them acting tired, thus distracted, busy, detached. But underneath that, they know something changed. The flowers on this card feel like what was still alive, even when they chose not to nurture it. That is what bothers them. They can feel that there was something real here, something they let sit unattended for too long. And now they are wondering if your heart has gone quiet for them. But this quiet cannot hold forever, because the next card shows the emotional pressure breaking through the stillness. This is where the silence begins to hurt too much to keep pretending it is control. And we have the Three of Swords. Wow, okay. This is why the stillness is becoming unbearable, because now we are not just in thought, we are in pain. This card is showing the emotional pressure point, the heart with the swords through it, and those two hands reaching up. That feels like someone wanting to pull the pain out but not knowing how. They want relief, they want release, they want something to stop replaying inside them. And for some of you, that something is the moment they realized you may actually respond differently now. Listen. This person may be close to breaking silence, but it does not feel polished. It does not feel like a grand confession with perfect words. It feels more awkward than that, more human, like a message typed at night when their guard is down. Like, hey, or I saw something that reminded me of you. Or can we talk something small on the surface, but underneath it is a whole storm trying not to spill everywhere? Because the Three of Swords is not casual communication. This is communication after holding something in too long. I'm hearing, what if they don't care anymore? That is the fear, not just rejection. The fear is that you will be calm. The fear is that they will finally expose emotion, and you will not meet them in the same place you once would have. That you will be kind, maybe, but different, more distant, more careful, more unavailable. That is what scares them. They may still be typing and deleting. They may still be trying to make the message sound neutral. They may send something indirect first, just to test the temperature. A random check-in that is not random. A reaction to something you post. A question they already know the answer to. A tiny breadcrumb. Not because they do not feel more, but because they are terrified of showing the whole loaf. That's very specific. And with the birds around this heart, I feel like thoughts are circling them. They cannot land. They cannot fully rest. They keep going back to what they should have said, what they should not have done, what they assumed, what they let other people influence, what they lost by trying to look unbothered. And now we are getting to the part that feels like the real reveal underneath all of this. Because the next card is not just about what they feel. It is about what they are finally understanding and why that truth is so uncomfortable for them. And we have the High Priestess. Wow, okay, this is the reveal. This is not loud truth. This is quiet truth. This is the kind of truth that sits behind the curtain the whole time, waiting for someone to stop performing long enough to feel it. And I feel like this person is finally understanding something they did not want to understand before. They were wrong about you. For some of you, they thought your silence meant you were playing games. They thought your boundaries were punishment. They thought your emotional distance meant you were trying to get a reaction. But now they are realizing, no. You pulled back because something inside you knew. Something inside you could feel the imbalance before they were willing to admit it. The High Priestess is showing me that you knew more than you said. Listen, you may have felt the shift. You may have felt the pride. You may have felt another influence, another voice, another energy around them. You may not have had proof, but your body knew. Your intuition knew. And I feel like they are now realizing that you were not confused. You were not weak. You were not just waiting around. You were observing too. That is what shocks them. Because they thought they had the upper hand by being silent. They thought withholding communication gave them control. But the High Priestess says your quiet was not emptiness. Your quiet was awareness. You were seeing the pattern. You were seeing who they became when they were uncomfortable. You were seeing what happened when ego sat in the driver's seat. That's very specific. And for some of you, there was someone or something that influenced this. A friend, a fear, a third-party assumption, a lifestyle, a prideful mindset. Something told them to stay cold, stay guarded, stay unreadable. But now the truth is coming to light in a way they cannot dress up as logic anymore. I'm hearing. They knew. That is what is bothering them. They are realizing you knew they cared. You knew they were watching. You knew the silence was not as powerful as they wanted it to seem. And now that truth is exposing them internally. This is where the karma is psychological. They have to sit with the fact that the one they tried to keep guessing may have understood the whole thing the entire time. And once that truth lands, there is only so long they can keep hiding behind observation, pride, and silence. So the final card shows the likely emotional outcome here, and more importantly, what you are being guided to remember when this person finally moves. And we have the Knight of Cups. Okay, so this is movement. This is the emotional approach. And I want you to notice something here. This does not feel like the King of Pentacles mask anymore. This does not feel like the King of Swords coldness anymore. This feels like someone finally stepping out of all that control and coming in with feeling, but they may still come in softly, carefully, maybe even a little awkwardly. The cat on this card is holding that cup while riding the swan, and that feels like someone trying to make an emotional gesture look graceful, when inside, they are nervous. They want it to look smooth. They want to seem calm. But after all of this, after the Devil, the Page of Swords, the Three of Swords, the High Priestess, you already know there is more underneath the surface. Listen. For some of you, this is a message, a confession, a check-in, an apology wrapped in casual language. They may not come in saying every single thing at once, because this person still has pride. But the energy is shifting from watching to approaching, from holding back to testing the waters. And with the swan here, I feel like they may try to come in peacefully. They may try to soften the energy between you. Maybe they say, I've been thinking about you. Maybe they ask if you're okay. Maybe they bring up a memory. Maybe they act like they just wanted to clear the air. But I'm telling you, this is not random. This person has been sitting with the truth. They know the silence did not make them stronger. They know the coldness did not make them free. They know watching you from a distance did not make the feelings disappear. It only showed them that your energy cannot be replaced by pretending not to care. Wow. And what you are being guided to remember is this. You do not have to shrink when they come forward. You do not have to abandon your boundaries just because someone finally finds the courage to speak. You can listen. You can feel. You can decide. But you are not the same version of you they left waiting. This reading is psychological symbolism and entertainment, but emotionally, the message is clear. Their silence may break, but your power is in how you respond. So if this resonated, take what feels true and leave what doesn't. Thank you so much for watching.